Yeah. People are absolutely dunking on that thing.
That's what I've heard.
The worst one since Eternals. It's the only one that's got a worse review.
Okay. How are we looking
Eternals
on the...
was total trash, though.
You don't like yours up high? Or... Oh, never mind.
I really like the way that yours was set up.
Whose?
Yours, because it gave a little bit more. Nick sits in his frame nice. Nick always looks good in his.
Nice.
But the way that yours was set up was a little bit more like mine seemed way too close. Where yours is like, you need to back yours up because yours looks like mine and mine looks like yours used to.
I didn't even touch mine.
No, it was
you
just
did when we rotated them.
Well, let me get you.
What do you mean?
When we had it set up for a two piece.
Is that what you're talking about? It looking good?
How's he look there?
Good. You just need to angle it down a little bit. Way too much. Gentle hands.
How we looking?
Could go down just a little bit. If you stood up, it'd be perfect.
This thing tilts too. How's that? Just let me do it. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We'll see.
Are you like me, Tony? Is your goal like what mine is, and that's to wear a different hat every time? I plan on not ever wearing the same hat.
I damn near wear a different hat anytime I see you guys.
I know.
Nah, you got a rotation. Come on.
It's just because you see me probably the most frequent besides Ava. But, no, yeah, that's the plan. It'll be a new hat every time.
Angie was like, "Yeah, that's what you should be your thing."
I love that.
That should be your thing.
Vikings hat's sick.
Angie said,
It is.
That should be your thing."
Besides it being a Vikings hat, but that's all right.
Yeah.
I'm not a hater, I guess. They're good. They're good.
I'm a firm believer in liking your teams that you are local to you.
For sure.
And I mean, where I grew up, Northern Iowa's.
Yeah.
No other opportunities except, I mean, you can go.
Maybe Kansas City?
That's like being a homer, but in a good way.
Would Kansas City be the next closest?
I think.
Tal, will you turn my headphones down?
You're safe in Iowa, I think, if you like the Bears, Packers, or Vikings. Southern Iowa.
How you like that?
Oh, it's better.
Southern Iowa is definitely.
Iowa?
Like right here, yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm.
No, I don't think. No, don't touch any of that.
Don't touch. Okay.
It's just what I'm getting.
Okay.
The Southern Iowa is definitely a lot of Kansas City fans, but you know what I mean. Most of Iowa is going to be Bears, Packers, or Vikings for the most part. But I feel bad for my kids because they were born in Michigan, and so I mean, if they wanted to go that route and be Lions and Tigers fans, that'd be all right. It's the bitter rivals of my teams because they're in the same division.
Yeah, kind of.
Luckily, Riker is a diehard Viking fan.
Is he really?
Have you seen? Did I show you pictures of his room?
Oh, that's right. That's right. You got Justin Jefferson everywhere, and yeah. The Lions are they're getting a lot of love right now. So
they always do. Even when they suck, that stadium is packed. They sell out.
But I mean,
I'm gonna pretend like you didn't say that.
I mean, media-wise now, they're actually getting legit analysts being talking about them being a decent team and having a chance. Which I don't know. As a Lions fan, it's hard to believe that until you see it because we've been just burned so many times.
I'll tell you what, these cameras are extra crisp again today.
Yeah?
Yeah. Did either of you guys
What'd you do, warm up that little Surface Pro? And
I've been on this thing since 2 o'clock.
Little massage. Oh, you got it real warmed up then.
Been moving stuff around, figuring out.
I tried to race out of work because we closed at 1. I even dipped out at 12:45 because I was trying to catch you at the gym.
I was already, when I texted you guys, I'd already been there for 45 minutes, an hour.
I thought you had just texted that you were leaving Grand Rapids.
Yeah, you were like, I'm going to wrap up in GR a little early, beat this ice storm. Then the next pick, he's in the gym. I'm like, geez. Teleportation.
Dude, it was getting gross. We got to swing a bunch of...
Was it snowing up there?
Snowing, ice, all that stuff hit there first.
It didn't even hit here yet.
It's going now, though. I mean, trees are down everywhere. Am I right here?
Yeah, the trees got iced up.
No, they're down, though. They're starting to fall because it's too much on them.
Okay, the roads are not icy.
Oh, no, definitely not. I don't think the roads are going to get icy.
Yeah. I mean, my son had his driving test today.
Pass?
He did.
Nice.
He did. He is official on the road tomorrow. First day he'll be driving him and his sister to school. Or as Maddie likes to refer to Brady or Tony likes to refer to Brady as Maddie's chauffeur.
Yeah.
That's how it was my sister got her license. I'm like, oh, better punch in. We got errands to run.
We got places to be. Yeah.
I had a friend that turned 16 right out of 8th grade. And so we had this in. It was awesome.
Funny thing was, in Iowa, you could drive since you were 9.
Yeah.
But so he could drive since he was 9, but he couldn't pass the 7th grade.
I forget. He was just one of the oldest kids in his class above us and got held back. So
That's 2 classes almost.
well, when you're the oldest, you know what I mean, and then you get held back. Angie's the same way.
Yeah.
Angie was one of the oldest in hers, and I think she was like a kid who had their October of her freshman year had her license. So right
I
as
was November, and I don't think that's old.
of your freshman year.
Yeah. No. Sophomore year.
Yeah, Angie was a freshman when she October
Oh.
October of her
so
freshman
she was
year.
old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because she got held back in 2nd grade, I think it was. So
That's wild.
Yeah, I was 18 going into my senior year of high school.
Yeah, but not that old. You're September, right?
No, I was just the older
Yeah,
kids
Older
in
half.
my class.
I was definitely on the older half, but I
Yeah.
wasn't.
we're all in the same boat. Remember
Yeah.
we?
I was,
That's
remember
true.
I was
That's true.
supposed to be in the class before mine.
Me
but
too.
I got held back in preschool. They're like,
So
why don't you take
oh.
one more year at this, kid?
it wouldn't be a podcast
Right.
without Carlos barging in here.
Right.
Oh, now we got
And-
and we got.
Oh yeah, she was asking where that one was at. I'm like, maybe it's just a gift from Mrs. Heater. She's like, yeah, maybe it's not.
He might hang.
Okay, I'll leave it here.
Yeah, he's fine.
Sorry, guys.
He'll bark to get out. It's kind of a tradition, I guess. Oh no! Oh yeah!
Oh, we're gonna be in and out here.
What does that
It's gonna
mean,
be like ghost stories.
Oh, look at that! This is
little power
fantastic.
dude? So does it stay up and going? We're good.
This will.
And so-
Yeah, because that has a battery.
That
does.
This actually has a little battery because this was still
It's
going
got capacitors and stuff like that in it, so it holds the energy
for like
long
5
enough,
seconds.
long
Hey.
enough for these lights to dip out.
Do we need a generator?
might be the next thing. Tony's
get
been
one.
trying to sell me one
been trying
since
to
I
get this
moved
kid
in.
on one. Mine's rolling like a champ.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nice.
I need to get one. I stress out so much about like the freezer and all that and we always are out for 2 or 3 days at a time when it does
Yeah,
go out.
maybe we can get like a 2-for-1 on Tony or something like this.
Sure, it'll just cost twice as much, but we'll do them both at the same time.
Him and his dad do them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like the generic ones? Generac?
Generac.
Is that the brand you do?
That's the
I can
brand
get-
is Generac, but it's the least generic one. Like,
Yeah, I
that's
know.
like when you go. Do you have most? It's like Q-tips
Yeah, kind
for
of.
cotton swabs.
Well,
Unless you get the bigger ones, and then
well,
you're talking about like industrial size. But for
Yeah,
like
but-
your average home,
yeah, at my office we do we are a Kohler
great
dealer.
ones.
Yeah, they're up there too. As far
There's
as
a monster
branding.
one, a monster Kohler generator on the job site we're on right now. Like you can walk in it.
Oh yeah, some of those things on the rooftops, those air handling units
this-
and all that stuff, it's crazy.
This thing has a diesel cell underneath it that probably has 20,000 gallons of diesel fuel in it.
Holy crap.
Yeah, this thing's a big body. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what that shutdown was last week. They had to put in a ATS, the automatic transfer switch, for it. But I mean, it backs up a giant
These
facility.
M43s, I think, back up Tony.
It cracks me up.
He's like,
I took so many of them.
the other day he goes, dude, but I know, like when I need to not be close to the mic. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
But,
That's
yeah,
funny.
so I was telling Nick, well, you guys knew. I mean, we started the day off with me, or yesterday, with me throwing in the towel with the production side of these podcasts.
I know.
It had enough. I've been tooting the horn of Clip Champ. Yeah, Clip Champ? Clip.
That sounds right.
Like, since I came across it, because it comes bundled with Windows 365 now, because Microsoft bought it. I'm like, oh, this is great. That's not so great. It
Yeah.
struggles. I mean, it takes hours to convert a video file, an MKV file, over to MP4. Like, it would take 5 hours, 6 hours to export it.
Can
And it's
these
like,
can the software we use just record it in MP4?
no,
MP4, sorry.
no. It won't record it in that, but it will. That's what I used to do the crossover this time, and it took 15 seconds. It's like, okay, so we're not using Clip Champ anymore.
Wait a second. Say that again.
It took 15 seconds. The software uses it, but it doesn't do it natively. It won't record an MP4. It'll record in an MKV file.
This is
Which is a video file.
OBS or
Correct.
whatever it's called.
Yep.
But
I
you can
downloaded-
convert it in OBS in 15 seconds.
Yeah, they have a different, like a software arm that you click on and you can. Let's see here. What's the name of it? Yeah, you go to like the file and then
But clip.
Remux recording, and then it'll take an MKV file and push it over to MP4 in like I said, 15 seconds. But I also downloaded another open source file transfer converter, which will do the same thing. But it doesn't allow us to edit and cut together clips like Clipchamp
Yeah, but there's
does.
another free one that they're using at our office for some of the reels and stuff that they do.
Send it over.
I'll find out what it is. It starts with an A. They told me the other day, but I see the marketing guys every day. So
Send it over.
I'll figure out what it is.
Because at some point,
Because they're using it.
I'm gonna need a break from some of this production stuff, and one of you guys is gonna have to do it for a little while.
I love it.
Because we're gonna get busy with construction. I'm just not gonna have the time. Like I said, I beat my head against the wall for the last week. I mean, we had
Love it.
that last
Well, I
podcast
got-
ready to go for almost
I
a
got
week.
Brady's buddy. He does all this video stuff, so we could probably pay him very little, not very little, but what he would go for, which would be fine for us.
That's an
and-
option, or we could not pay it, and then we could just take turns doing it.
Yeah,
we
works
could-
for me.
okay,
Like, what
whatever.
do we need? Just your computer?
All I'm saying
No,
is,
because I'll upload the MKV files to the Dropbox, and then we can you can do it independently. And
Yeah.
we can start chopping this thing up however we
Yeah,
want.
do that.
And as long as it gets loaded, you guys, if you have any questions about how to pull it out of Dropbox, or because I'm gonna push all the Dropbox stuff off of this laptop and onto a solid state drive or remote drive.
yeah,
So it'll be backed up on there. So if for some reason, if Yoko Ono comes in and breaks up the Beatles here, you know what I mean? I'll just be like, hey, here's the zip drive. I'll see you guys when I see you or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just some redundancy.
where the hell do you come up with this?
When you
Yoko Ono comes in here.
when you plan for something, this is what I've learned midway through my life into becoming an adult. When you plan for something, you don't need it. Like when you plan for catastrophe, you'll never run across it. Because it doesn't matter if you do, because you're planning for it.
It's like fire suppression. You don't ever want it to go off, but you're ready.
Right. Speaking of fire suppression, what is it? What's the system they have? It's like a 2-stage system. Like it takes 2 indicators to pop off. Like it's not just heat sensed sensors.
Smoke or not?
What do you mean?
Correct. There's like smoke detectors in the HVAC system, in the ductwork. There's temperature sensors in the room. There's obviously the pressure differential inside and outside of the fire line pipe.
Before the suppression just says, I'm getting out here and taking out this fire.
Yeah, because you could basically clip a head off with like a man lift if somebody was doing some work and was careless, or as long as you don't have 2, more than one signifier of a fire, like it'll stay.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh,
What?
just another little flicker.
Yikes.
Imagine if we were doing this thing in Texas, man. Something like this would be like, oh, we're not doing a podcast for 2 to 3 months. While they rebuild the infrastructure again.
Oh, because of an ice storm?
That's where Rogan's at now, right? Austin?
Yeah, but I'm sure he's probably got some
Yeah.
redundancies. I'd hope any of those people
Yeah.
learn some lessons.
Austin's, I heard, is getting crazy. Like,
Turning
Tell
into
me.
San Francisco?
yeah, like, well, I mean, I've just heard it's like, you think of Texas, you think of just right-wing and gunslingers, you know what I mean? That's like the stereotype. But Austin is like supposedly the opposite of that.
Makes sense.
Guy I work with
College town?
just told me he's got plans to go down there. He's looking in like the Plano area.
Yeah.
He said it was awesome down there.
Angie and I lived in Plano for about 3 months, and
Okay.
I guess it's not even close to the same as it was. It's just blown up. Plano,
Well, he was telling me
Frisco.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
Wild.
It's just north of Dallas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like right up, probably, Fort Worth, Dallas.
I think there's a lot of corporations there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
They
ton.
They blew up.
CRB just did a huge design project for a monster facility down there. It was Ross Perot's old building, like right after he left IBM. When
Ross
he had his-
Perot.
yeah, right. Where's that guy at?
Is he dead?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't think
Super
so.
old.
God,
Yeah,
he was
he's gotta be,
94 when he ran for president in
I think he
1983.
died. I think he died.
Little goblin-looking motherfucker. But he was
Gollum.
great. I loved
Look
him.
like Gollum,
Uh,
right? Isn't that Gollum? I don't know that. I don't know Lord of the Rings that well.
Yeah.
Do you?
yeah,
Is that who he looked like?
yeah. Little goblin guy.
I'm gonna look it up.
I bet he's still alive.
I don't think
Somebody
so.
of his net wealth.
There's no,
He's trust me. If there's anyone who's gonna live that long,
I think
Ross Ricky Bobby Perot
right?
died July 9th, 2019.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah.
at how old? 150.
Yeah, 2000
Born
years
June of 1930.
Oh.
So
Born
He was
June.
90 then.
89.
Born June 13th. 13th was the date? No, that was the year. He was born. Benny forever.
He was the 13th. He was just the 13th
Yeah.
person born on Earth.
Oh,
I did
man.
it again. I did it again.
At least there's
towels.
nothing
Paper
there.
towels. Get it.
I think he's
soak in
good.
this butcher block. Nick, will you grab those? Would you mind?
I'll crawl under.
I don't think you're going to be able to crawl in there. This table's going to get a rich patina of Michelob Ultra.
Maybe that's what you do. Is we just
We got to get him something at the top.
we'll just
Yeah,
soak
I
it
need
in.
the I need
One
the
more,
baby.
one more. You're on strike 2. You get one more strike. You're getting a sippy cup. You're gonna be on sippy cup probation. Oh, speaking of which, I have the. Maybe if we're gonna kick one off on Saturday too, I'll bring some shims. I'd like to put the foot rail all the way around so Nick and I
Oh,
have
look
something
at
to put our
that.
feet
That is
on.
fantastic.
And then I'll bring over that. I have the conditioner for Butcher Block. Do we think we want to put like a elbow rail around this thing? We can do some mods to this table.
We should probably
Yeah.
think of some sort of stand or something. In
We should-
maybe
We
like
can
build
build those.
something.
I think
up.
the first
Actually,
thing that
we
I
don't-
need is a cup holder.
Okay, well let's put a arm rail in, because if we put a 6-inch, really even just a 6-inch rail around, we could get something, get a wood that has like a contrasting color to this. It'd look sharp. I'll bring that wireless router over. You guys smell hot electronics?
For real? I mean, it went
No.
just on the cord.
No, it's not. There's nothing burning. It's just on the cord.
Oh, okay.
If that's what you're talking
You
about.
burped.
Probably. This microphone will start to melt down.
It's hot. It's hot.
If we put a little rail around the outside, we can cut cup holders into it.
I was gonna say in the center, if we don't have to affix anything to this, but we could just the same height as we have these. We could put some sort of just kind of like
Yeah,
table.
we can build a nice little
Like a
box
little-
or something.
yeah.
Or,
We could do Lazy Susan. We could
Yeah,
turn
something-
it, and it would be like that 70s show.
I've been watching that with the kids.
The new one?
The '90s.
Yeah.
That '90s show.
Yeah,
It's totally inappropriate for the kids, and I mean, I'm dying though. Like,
It's pretty funny. I did watch the first episode or
man.
two.
oh, this might be permanent.
Oh, no. Come on back to me.
you're back.
Oh, my goodness. Are you serious?
We should really be telling like ghost stories.
I
or,
guess.
like, we should be talking about conspiracy stuff with this lights and stuff. Speaking of which, did you see that video I sent you and Chad about the thing getting shot down?
No.
You should look it up, dude.
Did you send it today?
I'm just bombarding you guys on Instagram. You
How
guys are
come I'm
looking
not
at it.
seeing this conspiracy?
What did you
'Cause I
send?
don't
Did you
have
send
I
it
don't have
today?
you on Instagram.
I don't think I do Instagram.
You
I mean, I
should.
have it, but I don't have it.
That is my preferred. You guys might use Facebook.
Yeah, that is his.
Todd uses TikTok. I use Instagram all the time.
I have it, but
Fire it up.
Yeah.
Let's get a group chat going because I've been going down some rabbit holes lately.
But-
Like the last couple days. Did you guys know there's a software?
This Russian warplane stuff.
There's
This is what
a.
you're-
It's start with that one and then watch the one after that one.
Russian.
So there's this
spaceships.
software. It's a website you can go to. It's called Skyglass, and it's a flight tracker for every airplane that has tail numbers, military, private, commercial, all of them. And I'm watching this YouTube thing that this guy's got, and it's all it's like conspiracy type stuff. But he starts off his YouTube show with like going through this thing and like going through. It's like, okay, here's refueling jets, like the big bodies. He's like, here's fighter jets, here's drones, and he's like, U.S., Europe, Middle East, Japan, like all these hot zones of where there's large military holds, and it shows the flight patterns over like a couple of days. And it's crazy. Like you see the activity going on. You see, okay, he highlights his stuff. It's like, hey, here's some planes coming out of Belarus, flying up to like a northern port of like Russia, doing some reconnaissance stuff. And he's like, here's all these bombers and these refuelers. So that usually means there's like fighter jet activity in this area. and it's all, you'll see like a spy plane go up and like cruise back and forth around Turkey, like after these earthquakes. It's crazy, and it shows the entire. It's the whole planet, and it's every airplane that's in the air, and every drone, every aerial thing that has, like I said, basically an airplane license plate gets tracked by this thing.
Wow.
But, so, we all know about that railroad crash, right, in Ohio. Ohio also, so we had a train derailment over in Detroit, or in Van Buren, the city of Van Buren Township. I think that's the one over by Detroit. And then a couple days ago, there was a metallurgy factory that does like copper alloys and stuff like that, blew up in Ohio. There was a train derailment down in Louisiana that spewed out like some kind of caustic acid or something like that, sprayed it all over. There was one out in Arizona, I want to say. It's great, like all this stuff like happened. Well, all this stuff that's been reported in the last couple of weeks of all this stuff happening. I can't attest to if this happened, if this is common or not. And then we're just seeing, okay, this section, man, there's a whole bunch happening, or no, this happens all the time. But it's crazy. So like with the weather balloons, I saw this reel of this guy. He's in Alaska, and he's like, here's where the military forces came in and looked for like 2 days for the thing they shot down. And he shows it and pans it out, and it's kind of like at dusk. He's like, they said they couldn't find it. He's like, it's all white, it's all frozen. Like, and he kicks like the dirt, and some gravel comes up, and you see it, and it stands out perfectly. Anything not white stands out perfect. He's like, I don't think they couldn't find it. He's like, I think they found it. And then they just dipped. He's like, no one's here anymore. Like, you could see where everything was stationed, where
They
everything,
found what?
like the snow was all flattened out and stuff. He's like, they said they gave up after a couple of days because they couldn't find it. He's like, I don't think so. He's like, I think they found it and rolled out. And that they were saying the reason they stopped looking over at Lake Huron was because the seas were too rough.
Find it.
Come on.
We've
got like,
I was all in your Instagram
Just
stuff. What are you talking
catch
about?
up. So they looked at Lake Huron for like 2 days, and then they gave up. They said the seas were so rough. Dude, the Coast Guard, besides like Miami and San Diego, the Coast Guard around the Great Lakes might be the best, because they're on the water all the time. They have a ton of water, to practice on.
Is
So
there no?
you tell me you're gonna give up after 2 days of looking for this thing when you shot it down and you know where you shot it down at?
Does the plane that shot it down not have some sort of dash cam that shows what it shot down?
So there's
Because
some.
they've never showed a picture.
There's some. How there's always like grainy photos, and I finally heard something from a podcast I listened to from a pilot. He's like, look, because everyone bitches about why is the footage so grainy, why is it shaky, why is it whatever. He's like, I get it, and don't think that us pilots that are in these planes, these aircrafts don't think about that stuff. But you got to remember, these are weapon systems cameras. These aren't iPhone 14 selfie cameras. These are weapon systems cameras. They're not meant to take high resolution, clear, filtered pictures that make you look good on social media.
That's baloney.
I think that's totally true, because they're weapon systems ones. They're not. It's not somebody looking at it and saying,
Hey.
It's not a human eye looking at it and saying, there's a target, there's a target. There's a computer system in there that doesn't even need any resolution.
Listen, though, if you were the pilot, right before you shot that thing down, would you not grab your cell phone out of your pocket and take a picture?
It's not like
No
you're,
kidding. No
it's not
kidding.
Like, it's not like you're driving a car down
Yeah, but
131.
all I'm saying is why wouldn't they why would they just keep using? So they overlap the image with the weapon system. I don't. That makes zero sense.
Why
to
would
me.
you need it? Well, think about it.
Why
It'll
wouldn't
make
they
sense to
want
you.
it?
For what?
Anything for just dash cam footage.
It's not. Hey, they don't have to answer to like the local authorities on why this cop shoot this guy. They're the military. They shoot something down. Guess who's asking them questions?
They can hide all the footage they want. It doesn't matter.
The interesting thing
What do
about
they-
it,
Exactly. Well, you don't have to hide anything you don't have.
the balloon they
You-
showed us,
you
right?
would want to see it.
Like, they showed us all the footage of the balloon flying right before they shot it down. I watched that on a Sunday sitting at home doing that flooring in the basement.
From where?
The balloon that flew from Alaska
Yeah,
all the
right.
way to, like, South Carolina.
Where'd the footage come from?
It was live. I was watching it on Fox News.
From what?
I have no idea. Like, I don't know where they were.
I guarantee it wasn't from a cockpit of a jet.
Probably not. Point
It
is
was from the ground.
what's interesting is they give us that, right? And they show us all the footage of this balloon with a satellite hanging from it, and they shoot it down, right?
They shot it down in South Carolina?
And off when it went into the Atlantic, over that, they shot it down there. And it was live on TV. They showed, like, we watched it, Angie and I saw them actually blast it, and then it started spiraling.
Those were all people on the ground, spectators.
But what was too high for people to even see from the ground without some sort of, like, thing.
Like a
Like
telescope.
They had to have, like
a
some
camera
yeah.
or a lens or
But
something.
what I found very interesting about it was that what they ended up shooting down over Alaska or Canada or whatever that was, they said this had no balloon attached. This was the size of a Volkswagen Bug. So it's a flying, like it's something that was flying. It wasn't in orbit. So like
Yeah, it couldn't have been.
it needed to be a drone or another plane, but it was so high.
No, it didn't. It could be a balloon. What if it was a balloon?
They said it was I didn't think that they said it was a balloon this time.
Who said it wasn't a balloon?
Just when I was listening to, they said they shot down.
I'm just curious.
I heard
I'm
it.
not trying to be an asshole or be
No.
combative here, but
I thought they
I'm
said it
trying to-
wasn't. They said it was a blue.
I'm trying to clue you guys in on how I look at these things. It's okay how you guys look at things.
I don't even
Just
look
as
at
good
them,
as
so
it's-
I'm loving this
Yeah, I know,
conversation.
'cause you don't watch the
I
videos.
figured it was
Fucking
a
psychopath.
plane or a UFO.
Yeah, I hope it is. Right? That's the problem.
Why
you know?
not?
Because it's like you want something. You try to look at it objectively and say, okay, I'm gonna shit all over this thing, and not just say, yep, that's it. It's got to be it. I mean, growing up, I was one of those kids that was like, I hope Bigfoot's real.
Me too.
I hope
totally.
aliens are real. All that stuff.
Yeah.
It would be so cool.
My
right?
conspiracy though is that they knew that these objects were flying around, and they did the whole balloon deal to like give us all the impression that like, oh, things are going to be happening in the sky, right? To let us see that, oh, China let a balloon get out of whack and it spied on us a little bit, but it gets us to stop asking questions about, wow, why did we have to shoot down these 3 other objects like really close to that same time?
No.
It's almost like they put that up there, the balloon, to then televise it,
Sure.
just to get
Sure.
us to look the
Maybe.
other way.
I believe that.
Well, that's how it usually goes, right? I mean, the
I
news
believe
cycle
that.
when it gets stagnant or something starts to like hover.
Or
in
if
the
it's
news
or if it's
cycle,
something that's big is gonna pop,
in
they'll
the
pop
news
something else
cycle,
big to
if
draw
something
attention.
if there's time, if there's not something else going on, something else will come up, just to help kind of push it along and keep things moving. Because otherwise, you'll sit and fester on an idea, and then it gets way too much, coverage, and you start, dragging that dirty laundry out into the court of public opinion. And
Well, and that's why I was saying I think
Things
the
are
opposite
crazy.
is true in a lot of cases where there's a story that hits that's not going to be good for something, someone, some whatever, and something else they use that seems real, that people will pay attention to.
Something big's coming, then all of a sudden
And-
there's a school shooting. And
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
there's-
why did that school shooting pop up just now, the day before
Right,
this?
there's exactly.
I think
They
there's
they
enough
use
of
it
them
as a
going on
distraction.
that they just are like, oh, okay. They
Pick it
just
up
gotta
and
reach back into
publicize
reach
the
back
one.
into the bag and be like, well, these things happen all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So when we talk about these UFOs, do we? Here's my question. I don't know. I'm like, there's so much space out there that, hey, that's awesome. But why is it always that we're the like inferior species to an alien, and why aren't we the aliens in other areas?
because that's exact. I think you just answered your question. If we're the
I did.
inferior, why aren't we on a different planet finding aliens? Because then we would be the
Well,
superior.
maybe we're the first. I don't know. Maybe we're
We know how hard it is to get to the moon,
yeah.
to go to the closest thing to our
That's
planet.
what it is, though. Ty.
Yeah.
If somebody else came from out of a different solar system to come here, obviously they're smarter than us.
At least in that
Okay.
area
I-
of
that's
travel,
how, that's how I
space
always look
travel.
at it.
Or these. What if these UFO things are actually us testing new technology?
That's possible too. It'd
Right.
be silly if you're shooting down your own stuff.
Like I'm for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like I don't believe. I'm not anything. Like it could be either one. But I just in this argument sometimes I like to play devil's advocate because it's always like they're these Martians who are just superior beings, not just technology wise, but they
I
like,
think-
can make things move with their hand. You know what I mean? They're like way beyond anything that we are. And I'm like, well, I feel like we're pretty smart. Like we went to the moon and whatnot. Maybe we're the superior one. I could be dead wrong on that, but
I think that a
I don't
lot of
know.
what we have here,
It's fun to think about.
like technologies and things like that. Like, have you ever? I mean, I used to watch a ton of History Channel and Ancient Aliens and all these different things, and it's very interesting that like all the ancient civilizations, they like erected things on the
Yes.
ground that were only like really magical to view from above, right? And so like stone structures and things like that, like that ran for miles, right? And they were really precise on how they put them, but like you needed to be above, and there were no like mountains or anything where you could get directly above to view this. So how did they ever check their work, right? Like they were doing it on the ground, but like where you really want to view it is from 30,000 feet above.
There's one very close to us down in Ohio.
That snake thing, the mounds.
Serpent Mound.
Yeah, like I've seen like that type of thing is very interesting to me, meaning that I think people were in the sky, right? Either that or they had some way to fly to go up there and look. So they had an ability at that point, like pyramid times, to at least get above ground and hover in some way.
There's the marvel of how they don't know how some of these structures were actually built without some sort of superior technology.
Oh yeah, just
And they
the
say
pyramids alone.
and then they say, well, at that time they were building this, they were doing this. This is the only real explanation. And
what's weird is
then people got wiped out, and we kind of started over.
the mathematics used to do some of that stuff though is interesting too, because like they obviously didn't have the same tools, or we're not aware of the tools they had, but like they didn't have tape measures and shit. So like
It's crazy to put things in like a chronological sequence for us today. In fact, I just saw this today. This guy's like, so the Romans were closer to us than they were to the pyramids being built by a lot. Same thing with Cleopatra.
mm-hmm.
They said that when the pyramids were built, there were still woolly mammoths wandering the earth in some places. That's a long time ago, man.
I think
that's way back there.
They estimate what 7,000 years on the pyramids, like the Pyramid of Giza or whatever. I think they say it's about
12, 13.
No, not quite.
When they were built?
I'm pretty sure, like, you know, biblically or whatever, they would say that the pyramids were definitely built a couple thousand years before Jesus walked the earth. So, you know what I mean? If that was 2,000 years ago, you're looking at least another 3 to 4.
So they're saying Giza's famed pyramids were built during the frenetic period of construction, roughly 2,550 to 2,490 BC.
So yeah, that'd be like about 4,500 from now, or 55. Jesus,
That's it. You're done.
dude, gosh, Spilly Vanilli strikes again.
Oh, there he is.
I call Quinn, my daughter, Spilly Vanilli, so you can't have that nickname now. She's a Spilly.
Yeah, I wish he
too.
didn't have that nickname.
Listen, that's fine.
Remember that?
Golly.
Remember Millie Vanilli?
I'd change something.
Remember Millie Vanilli back in the day?
Chill out, bro.
Blame it on the rain.
I love it when people do something bad and then they tell someone else to chill out.
Well, I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it either.
All right, so chill out.
But don't spill anything and you won't get ridiculed.
But there's
Just
another
be-
really
just be an
cool.
asshole.
That guy that's on Rogan a lot had that new one that came out. I forget what the guy's name is or whatever. But he had the new one where he was looking into a bunch of these different.
Graham Hancock.
Yeah, I mean, I
Ancient
watched.
Apocalypse. It's
Yeah,
a great show.
it was awesome.
Yep.
But that's creepy. A lot of those things, you know what I mean, have been like vegetation has covered a lot of those things. So they see these mounds and they're like, oh no, this was once.
We
You know what I mean?
we should
Something.
Where there's,
napalm every jungle.
do you think? Have you
Because
seen
I
where
love
they
it.
think they found the lost city of Atlantis?
I watched that guy on Rogan.
Is it
too.
in
Just-
Morocco?
Close to south? I mean, Morocco's north a little bit, I think, of
But
there.
it's
But
on the very west side of Africa. There. Have you zoomed in on that on
Yeah.
Google Earth, dude? It's freaking nuts.
I
And
think
the
the,
stuff that he says, like all the washout. And
I
how
think
you,
the guy's right for sure.
dude, it's nuts.
It would make total sense the way that looks.
Yeah.
From above.
Yeah. When he explains it, like it logically, you're like, I can't prove it, but whoa. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wild. This stuff is wild.
It's crazy.
And then we're worried about me spilling beers. They found the lost city of Atlantis. Well, and I guess
That
where
they didn't build Atlantis in an hour.
and where it is
on a
like
Wednesday night.
a really that's true. And where it is they were saying it's really difficult to get to. And there's like tribes and all sorts of stuff that it's like dangerous to get there just to figure it out, which is a whole nother element to the whole. I don't know. It adds a whole nother layer to like trying to figure that thing out.
I mean, does it really matter? I mean,
What interests me is
you know, I mean, they look for that stuff, but I mean, like,
The-
so whatever it was, thousands and thousands of years ago, and it's, you know,
the
we're
information that was
intrigued, but
lost. Like that's what really intrigues me.
What's
is
that?
Like what got lost, the culture that got lost,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
technological advances,
Well, it's a myth
what they knew.
in most people's mind, right?
I don't
It's
know.
a story.
No, I think
All
there's
all
reference.
history stories.
There's reference. I mean, you talk about guys like, what is it, Socrates and Plato and stuff, like they reference it.
Good old
So like,
Socrates.
Yeah.
but they're referencing it in their stuff, and they were like the wisest of people of their time, you know. So I think that it's
Or
probably true.
Or they were just the one who beat up all the other ones.
They said
Right.
some pretty interesting things.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like every time somebody's vanquished a culture or person or a belief system, that one goes right in a garbage can. The one that wins, now what they thought was, is the law. So
Yeah. What'd you work out today? I saw you at the Smith machine or whatever. Did you do some shoulders on that?
yep.
That's what I was hoping to get in. I was going to lift a little bit if you were there because I typically just hop right on the treadmill. But
Shoulders and arms, real quick.
I got a.
I ordered a new lifting belt, so I didn't want to do deadlift or squats because I want to do those tomorrow.
I have a weird little tweak in my right bicep or whatever, and so I was like trying to. Today was the first day I tried to do anything, and it's still there. It's like the tendons.
I don't think
In
so.
pain.
This belt I ordered, I don't think I like it. Do you have a? You might like it. It's a little bit too narrow.
I don't know. The one I have or whatever, like I said, is one of those like clamp ones or whatever, and I really like the one I got. But
Yeah, I'll bring this. Maybe Todd will like this one.
I need to get back
I don't
in,
know
like
if
you
I like
said,
it or not.
that
I
one
mean, I
guy
want
or
like
whatever.
this one's like a 3-inch one with like, and then it gets bigger on the back, and then it's got some padding on the inside of the back. But I think I want to get a bigger one, like a actual powerlifting belt. Those powerlifting belts don't increase in size. I mean, they're 4 inches all the way around.
I just need to get back into the heavy lifting stuff.
'Cause
It's
I-
funny that thing you sent.
Yeah.
I saw that the other day. But it was,
Do I like following that page? Because it has like 3 or 4 guys they just rotate with different stuff on. And that guy that I sent you, that he's got a lot of like heavy lifting means and methods, like to gaining strength. And it makes a lot of sense to me how he breaks down how you do training. Whether you're doing exercise or your strength training or you're doing like a calisthenic or whatever. Just the way he lumps the stuff together makes sense to me from the videos I've watched of his.
if I remember right, that's the same guy I heard, like, in same philosophy as me. Like, I mean, that's how you do. You grow by, you know what I mean? You lift heavy.
Right.
But at the same time, I think he was the same guy who said, like, to get big, you have to eat big. So, like, you almost have to force feed. Like, you have to eat more than you would think you would want to eat in terms of, like, because your goal,
Well, depending on what your starting body size is, that would impact that a lot.
well, this is like my goal my entire life was always I wanted to bench press double my body weight, right? And I can never do it because to get stronger, I had to grow so much, right? And sure, I got up to benching 400 pounds, but I weighed 227. So like I started at about
Takes mass to move mass.
but yeah, exactly. But I started, I weighed about 185, 190, and I decided I'm going to go on this like journey to see how much I could, bench and grow in everything I was doing. I was lifting crazy heavy weights, 140-pound dumbbells for shoulders and stuff. And I remember like just growing because I was mashing out on everything and I was getting bigger, got up to 210. But at that point I was only at like 365 bench, right? But to get the next level, I plateaued out. And to get the next level, I had to keep eating and keep just growing in that way, looking like shit. You know what I mean? Never looked great, but got strong.
Right. Well, I mean, that's, are you training? Are you training for power and strength, or are you training in hypertrophy? Is that the term? Right. So
That
are you
sounds right.
looking to do muscle development in an aesthetic type of training, or are you building strength? I like how that guy's approach is. you basically follow the plates. You know what I mean? You're not going to get any stronger if you're not putting more plates on the barbell.
But again, a lot of people when you talk to people, like, what is their number one goal? They want to get bigger muscles, right? And get leaner looking,
right?
And
but
ripped.
That's you already crossed two streams, right? It's like you got to pick one.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like people that like to do a lot of cardio and then lift. That's the holy grail. You're trying to do two things at once. If you're trying to, you got to pick one.
Well, bodybuilders are definitely not as strong at showtime as they are when they're bulk season getting big.
Right.
Right.
But it's like, what are you trying to do? But like one leads to you can do them, just not at the same time effectively. I mean, you're gonna burn out faster than you getting to where you want to go.
I'll tell you that the most depressed I've ever been is when you're growing like that and you get to a point where you've plateaued, you're not getting stronger, right? Like for me, it like happens quick. Like I'll start, the more weight I put on, the more I start pushing around. You get to a point where you plateau there, you look like shit, you're bigger, and then you plateau, and it's like, now where do I go from this? It's like,
that's when you start cutting.
No, in my head, because I'm not to the strength goal yet, it's how do I add more pounds? Like, how do I gain more weight? Well, that's eating more calories and, you know what I mean? Like, not like doing any cardio and trying to just get heavier. The heavier you are, the more massive you are, the more you can push around. Right. But again, doing sets of 5, tearing the shit out of the muscles, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you want to do.
Lifting heavy.
And then, obviously, you get to a point where you're happy and you're like, all right, cool. Now let's go like on a little cut mode. As soon as you lose 10, 15 pounds or whatever and you watch as you lost 25 to 30 on your bench press, you're like back to depressed as hell. It's like, why am I so weak? Right? And you still don't look good.
Well, that's because you're chasing the dragon. I mean, you got to stay locked in on what you want, on one or the other. Okay, are we going to get shredded, or are we going to be, are we going to squat 650 this summer? Well, one is, one's going to get a lot of affirmation from outside. The other one's going to get a lot of affirmation from a small circle on inside. Like, man, this guy can move every 45 in this place. Okay, well, if that's what you're going for, I mean, if you're trying to be, the biggest gorilla in the gym, then that's your goal. And it doesn't matter if you've got, a double chin, or if you have to wear, 4XL t-shirts. That's just the price you're going to pay. But anybody who's got any kind of respect for strength or can understand what you're trying to do, they're going to be, okay, this guy's accomplishing this goal. His goal isn't to be 2% body fat. That's not what mode he's in. If he is in that mode, then you're lifting lighter weights, you're going crazy trying to balance macros and water intake, and you're getting ready for summer. I've got a thin layer of plastic wrap around a bunch of muscles that's just tan colored. Yeah, you look great, but you also don't have delts the size of a beach ball.
For next time, I have to find this picture that's freaking hilarious. Angie and I had probably been together for like 2 years, maybe at this point, maybe a year and a half. I don't know. But she was looking smoking hot, skinny. I think she was probably wearing heels, but there's a picture of me and her getting ready to go out to this, like, one of the bars was having a Christmas party that we got invited to because my cousins were like door guys at that bar.
Sure.
So we got invited and we were going. I remember like taking this picture. I never wear dress shirts hardly at all, and I got this dress shirt on, standing next to this skinny chick, and I got a necklace on, and it's like a choker. It's so tight around. This necklace is so tight around my neck because I started wearing it. I wasn't that big and bulky or whatever, but then I just kept wearing the necklace, and it got to the point where there was like a cross on it, and the cross like would stand out straight because it couldn't hang down because it was so tight. But I have a picture of it. I got to bring it. It's hilarious. I look like such a chubby just dork. I mean, it's embarrassing. Yeah. But again, that's
really strong.
Well,
you were moving some weight
at the gym, right? Small circle. The guys I was working out with and lifting with, like, they called me Thick Nick. I like that, going to the gym and people are like, hey, it's Thick Nick. Thick Nick's here. You know what I mean? And they'll,
when you were lifting heavy, how much did you care about what you were eating or drinking?
I smoked cigarettes at the time, so I really wasn't even I wasn't doing any cardio, and I was drinking all the time, and so but I also had a good regimen of like good food. You know what I mean? Sure. I was eating, well, I shouldn't say good. I think I probably was eating a lot of like Wendy's and stuff too.
But would you think twice about going and just, you're not gonna cap how many beers you're going to drink. Or, because I mean, ultimately, you can always justify it with any of the calories anyway. I'm going to
Yeah.
go burn these off tomorrow, lifting way more than everyone else.
That's the thing, like I said, when you're lifting for like power and things like that, like nothing in consumption mattered to me.
Sure.
Anything was good because I knew that me gaining a pound or two was going to make me stronger.
It's like the flux capacitor. It's
weird.
Back
Sure.
to the Future, man. You can feed that thing garbage.
So
It just
what?
needs
So
energy.
what's the right answer here? What's the like if we're
That's
like
for you to decide.
no, I get that. So if you want to be, the world's strongest man and carry big old stones, you better be. You're gonna have
they
to be
definitely,
big, right?
They definitely don't care about what people think about how they look.
Right, for
maybe
sure.
Maybe they do. Maybe they have
For
crippling
sure,
body
they're the size of this
dysmorphia,
table.
but
I mean, they're huge. And then there's the guys who are lean, runner types, long
do you wanna
distance
know-
endurance types, and then there's the guys that are in between, that are, they're strong, but they're not gorilla strong, but they also have a little endurance. Where's the healthy medium for what I think you're after now, Nick, is longevity? Because I don't think being the world's strongest man is good for longevity.
Definitely not.
But I also don't think being David Goggins is good for longevity either. And
Yeah.
running that much
No, I don't.
and going
I
that
don't-
hard.
I don't think that like when you're gonna.
And
go
those
out-
are the two opposite ends of the spectrum of what we're talking about in, lift light endurance versus power.
I don't think they're opposite ends of the spectrum. I think they're just two goals that fork off on one end of the spectrum, because the other end of the spectrum is being just a huge slob. Who's,
Sure, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They're opposite. They're different ends of this of going the same direction.
They're just different branches of one, right? But
Yeah.
they're definitely pointed in two different directions.
Yeah.
I would say, look, before Nick gets into the super technical part, what I would say is the correct answer. Let me see what the wrong answer is. The wrong answer is to be going down one path and not doing the work that's required to go down that path, right? If you're eating a ton of calories and you're lifting heavy and you're just bulking and getting monstrously strong, everything's working out because you're not
That's
in
the
that
path
much.
you're on.
You're not in that much of a surplus, and your body's, durable enough to burn through that stuff, and you're not going to take a 15,000 calorie hit on a weekend and all store it as fat. Like you've got the engine that wants to burn some of that. Or the other way, if you're real strict on diet and trying to get just cut and just as lean as you can, I mean, you have to back it up with the effort of what you're going to do, because if you do one or if you do either of those ones and don't find yourself exerting stress on your muscles, whether it be a high rep low weight or high weight low rep, if you don't put those two together, then your body's like, okay, well then you're doing half of it.
right.
The real
Okay.
simple answer, though, is we could go back to the Earl Nightingale, right? If you've defined like a worthy goal and you're striving to achieve it,
Sure.
right? You're going exactly where you need to go. That's the
Sure.
right answer, right?
Yeah.
Like you are a success in your fitness journey if you are striving towards if your goal was to get stronger, you're obviously going to have
Sure.
to sacrifice the looks in some ways, right? Like I said, it's very rare for people without some sort of like performance enhancing drugs to be able to continually gain mass and grow muscle and stay super lean, right? Like you
Sure.
have to have like some testosterone boosters and some HGH and other things like that. They're going to keep you doing that, and then some other like fat burners and other stuff. It's possible, but it's way more detrimental. But if that's your goal, right?
Yeah.
You're successful if you just achieve, and that's the path you took. But
Sure.
like for the longevity thing, I'm definitely I'm thinking like Goggins is an extreme. Like that's a silly thing to even consider. Like the
Right.
damage he's done to his body and legs and stuff from driving that hard is dumb. The normal human being should not
Sure.
press to the point where you're breaking bones or doing stuff like that. But one thing that I think is interesting about him is that his body and muscle and the way he is, like, he's not somebody who is probably I don't think he's the way he looks being ripped and whatever else. It's pretty much a reflection of all the crazy stuff that he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like going out and running nonstop and doing all that stuff, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups.
Sure.
Like, if you're going to do the way he does, your body has no choice but to probably look like that. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, it's-
Absolutely.
So it's like-
I would say that the deal he made is he needs a healthy mind, and his healthy mind is geared like he is, and the
Yeah.
byproduct is he's gonna forego his body.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
To have that mindset of like, I'm tired of being the way I am, to do a 180 on your lifestyle and go that other way. Like, I would imagine, you know, his mind, like some of the demons that he's trying to put in cages, like that's what he's got to do it.
The Never Finished book like blew my mind. Like I said, I didn't know a lot of the stuff. Like when we were talking initially about him and stuff, because I had just started it, right? And I didn't read the first one. I knew everything I knew about the first one from him keynoting a conference I was at, and then also hearing him on Rogan a couple of times, and then some other things. But in that book, like I think his success after that first one, right? He fell off, you know what I mean? In terms of like, you know, on the gravy train, you know what I mean? Life was good, had some money, had some success. Like I think had taken some time off, had some injuries and stuff, and then he blasted back into it farther than ever. I mean, like then he's in this book, he's talking about how like the ultra scene, people running 100-mile races and stuff like that, was like 40 to 60 guys, you know, when he was first doing them. Now he said they're up to 200-300, you know, guys entering these things. Now they have a race over in Moab that's the like some Moab 240. You get 110 hours to go and do it. Dude like ended up in the hospital or whatever, like with about 20 miles to go, ends up like getting checked out of the hospital, and is like, how much time do we have left? And he leaves like and goes back out there and tries to finish. I mean, they wouldn't let him. I mean, he did it. Jeez. He finished it on his own or whatever with his crew, but like that was the level I didn't realize. Like these events and things that he was doing required like a crew. Like he had to have like people there. I didn't realize he had like thyroid issues or whatever. He's like medication for this, medication for that. He's got whatever, sickle cell. Like I didn't realize how bad some of this stuff was, but I also didn't know that he fell off. I thought he's just been doing this stuff all along. I didn't know that. Like,
he just went behind the curtain, but he was still.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing speaking engagements, and I think he was just, you know, living that life or whatever. And then he realized, like, at that point, like, I think he needed to get back in it. That last surgery and stuff that he had too, or whatever. Just
you know
like,
what I need a crew for? Is when I seen Country Roads. Man, I was going hard in the paint on Monday. I don't know if you saw me in the back of Presidential, but
was I there?
I was toots to.
I wish you guys would have reminded me of that. I would have gone.
Was that? Man. Was I there?
Why did we not remind you?
I have no idea. I was like,
I don't either.
I meant to go when you know, Lisa mentioned it, and I was like, dang, that sucks. It was on President's Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's their thing every year. It was packed out there too. They rocked. It was awesome.
The next day, I saw Aaron Green post something or whatever. I'm like, oh my goodness, I missed it. Like,
I took all the money, all the foldable money I had out of my Ridge wallet and just threw it in the guitar case. I walked up and like fanned it out and dropped it, and I'm like, oh,
here you go.
Here's something for you guys.
Man, I tell you what, I
was upset with their merch selection though. They didn't have any cool hats there.
No.
Well,
I'm telling you to give Jake a hard time.
I would be like, man, you guys should be selling this like gangbusters. I was gonna wear
He's awesome.
This one tonight that I had.
The owners of
from
Presidential are so cool.
Latitude 42. I got this baller hat. Sick.
Yeah, they might want to upgrade their merch, but those two, Jake and his wife Kaylee,
get
they're
that
freaking
POS
awesome.
going right when you walk in the door. Right.
They were giving a speech in the back late night.
Oh really?
After that, like to their staff and stuff, and I walked back there.
I don't remember.
I don't even remember what they were saying. But they're like, Todd, plug your ears.
Yeah, there's probably like, look, all we have to do is book the Irishman every night we're open. We're gonna make a pile of money.
I think they did pretty good. I had to check with my waitress. I made sure I paid my bill before I left.
In full disclosure, I never go there unless Chad, Sam, and Andrew are there.
Well, in reality, it's not close when you're home.
True.
It's a jaunt.
A little bit.
When I was a drinker, we used to frequent every brewery around town. Like, we would probably at Presidential a couple times a month. One Well. Yeah.
I found the
One Well's got quite a following.
GR branch of New Holland on a lunch journey this week.
Yeah.
Pretty pumped about that.
We've done all of the New Holland. Well, I say we. My old life.
Previous life.
I like
our top guy, Chris. He's in with them. He does. He's done a good job for them.
I think the food at Founders is pretty good too.
You ever been at the Founders in GR?
Yeah.
That spot's kind of sweet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd like to say I went there and it was bitterly cold, so you know it was all closed off. But that's one of the the drive sucks. But once you get up there, it's like you just got off an airplane, on an island somewhere else. But there's a ton of stuff to do. It's like
it's like a big city.
it's like Kalamazoo on crack. You know, like it's so much bigger. There's so much more stuff to do. You know, it's
Or it's like Chicago, but not on steroids.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's Chicago.
What
Not
is
on
the
crack.
population? What's the population difference between Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo?
It's got to be like 5-6 times
Yeah, I would imagine.
for downtown. Yeah,
What is Kalamazoo,
a lot.
like 80,000?
Kalamazoo Portage area, I thought was pushing 150.
Well, that's another thing. Like, I don't think GR. Well, not that I know of. Maybe it does. I don't think GR has a suburb. You know, like
So-
Kalamazoo has Portage.
I've got Kalamazoo.
They have a
I mean,
bunch, don't
Kalamazoo
they?
population.
I don't know. I'm just not familiar with it.
Kalamazoo population is 73,000. Portage is 50. So
Okay.
you got 123 there.
Right. But
And
then
then
you
you
got to look
got-
up what's the biggest outlier, you know,
Like, I
what's
think
the biggest
so-
cousin to
so
GR that's right there.
Well, Grand Rapids population is almost 200,000. So you're twice as big as Kalamazoo Portage.
and that doesn't even though count, like I said, Byron Center and Rockford and all the ones.
Warren, yeah.
Yeah, so those are all like the ones that
Caledonia.
are right there. Yeah.
Plus, I think the downtown, the metro
Kentwood.
area is where Kalamazoo is like one strip, right? It's West Michigan.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
got- you
GR
got a
has
handful.
a bigger square, more square grid.
Yeah, you've got the south near the market.
And I think their university's a little bit more plugged into downtown than like where Western is to Kalamazoo.
For sure.
You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
It's just way
Yeah,
the
there's a
proximity's
campus
lot
there, and
closer.
then Kendall College is downtown too,
You know.
which is the artsy school. So which is pretty cool. There's some amazing people that go there.
If you could push some of the business sector west down 43, you know, towards 131, I think you'd close that loop with Western. But then again, you've got like CalSec. I mean, you have a mint farm that's standing in the way of bridging that gap.
Yeah,
you know, you have
I
a
mean, kind
farm.
of, but I mean, Western's right there.
And I think you got too much residential in there. You know what I mean? Like you'd have to start buying up some of these houses, some of the student housing.
Yeah,
You know, that pepper that whole area, like, because it
Yeah.
feels like there's the Western bubble and all their stuff, and then
And then downtown.
you got to go
Separate.
You got to go 5 minutes and then you're downtown. But if
it's
you could
separate. Yeah,
start to mesh those a little
but the
bit.
thing is Western's got all those plans that they're doing that we talked about at breakfast the other day,
Yeah,
and
but
that's not going to bridge that gap. That's going to
continue to build the
that's gonna,
silo.
Well, yeah, you've got either you can go downtown at Western, you can go downtown to Kalamazoo.
So the two spurs that come into downtown though, Stadium Drive and West Main, they're not closely hitched to each other either. I mean, they come in at wide
Right.
angles.
Yeah.
It's not like you can walk. Not unless you're downtown. You can't walk from Stadium
But
to West
downtown
Main.
is building. Aren't they building? Is it a Hard Rock Hotel or something that's going in, or
They've always
something?
been pushing for that event center. You
And
know,
then they're talking about an arena.
Riashi would be a great one to talk about that. I'm sure he's got some insight
Oh,
to
I'm sure he
you know
does.
that development down there.
Yeah.
But,
So who knows? With the country club being revamped,
bro,
I mean, I saw some renderings of that. That place looks amazing.
dude, I looked at the electrical count, and it was something like 63 52-inch TVs, like on the buyout. The way it's
52s. What are they doing?
well, those are like in the private hitting bays that are in the basement. There's like 6 or 7 private hitting stations downstairs. I mean, it's wild.
They're gonna have like a movie theater, bowling
Yeah.
alley, or
Oh,
something.
oh, yeah.
So I've heard. I haven't seen the plans, but
So where, you know, KCC now is, I mean, that was developed in the 80s, 70s, 80s. I mean, you go into their locker room and it's like,
well, I don't know how old the
you go back
building is.
into a time portal. It was just, I mean, when it came to its real affluence, let's say, like it was then. Like even when you look at the residential that kind of surrounds it, you know, you have houses in there that are like $300,000-$400,000 houses. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't built as a country club would be built today, but that's what they're gonna, you know, that's what they're morphing into now with the new clubhouse.
Yeah,
sort of
the
thing.
old school like Bronson Boulevard, all that stuff right there. That's an amazing. I love driving through those old neighborhoods. There's
Yeah.
some beautiful, just,
Winchell.
yeah, just cool homes.
Dude, there's some
that
great
are-
ranch houses in there.
Yeah.
They're just real, like, well built. Have the correct
Oh, yeah.
kind of. They stood the test of time for
Well, and they're-
50 years.
And they're all different.
Yeah,
know?
yeah. They weren't track
Real
built.
custom.
There wasn't one builder that came in and
Yeah.
built 60 houses in the summer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be crazy to see some like retro like builder come back out and like build houses that didn't look like everything else. You know what I mean? Like go back.
Well,
For-
Kevin Hooksman Builders is doing that, but those aren't retro, but they're different.
Yeah.
You see one of his homes, and you know it's one of his.
It's like all those KLH houses. They stand
That's
out.
what I just said.
They're,
Oh, that is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, his name's Kevin Hooksma. Sorry, Kevin. My bad.
they always. Well, let me back up. What would be the predominant building style for this area? Your typical ranch style.
Here,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say
Like when you take out the pockets of suburbs that have, like a colonial or a modern type of build to them.
yeah, I don't know.
When you get just outside of any of the, Madawan's kind of a tough one to gauge because there's a lot of
There's not the old school
every
homes.
5 years there's another, build out.
Well, the
collection
era-
houses.
Yeah, the era that built out here originally was like the 80s. So it was the split levels and stuff like that were super popular.
Right.
And those are not so much popular anymore.
Sure.
But that's what that style of home was super popular then.
Right.
And I don't know, I think it's a walkout, there's a lot of walkouts then. I think that's when that became
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm getting down to my last
Crunch time.
13 minutes here.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's still going to be on. Angie called and said that Celebration was still open. Our power's out at home, so
Oh,
we're probably
boy.
taking the kids with us. We didn't get them tickets, but we looked. It wasn't full
Sneak 'em
either.
in.
So yeah,
Yeah, just whatever.
But-
Just walk in like you own the
Yeah,
place.
it's that Jesus Revolution, whatever, with Kelsey Grammer.
Oh, really?
He's like the pastor of a church, and then like he.
I don't even think I've seen a preview.
Well, do you watch The Chosen?
I do not. I know what it is.
Well, the Jesus character in The Chosen, I think, is the character, and this is kind of like a hippie or whatever.
Okay.
They come along and they go to this church, and like, I think initially the way it plays out is that like the pastor of the church like thinks all these hippies are crazy, and they like, but then I think he starts warming up to him maybe, and
Sure.
then but the rest of the congregation or whatever is like, no, we're not like letting all these people in here, and then it goes about everybody should be welcome type of
Right.
thing. I'm guessing that's what it's.
Oh,
whatever.
that's cool.
But
Love
the
it.
previews look good, but.
Love it. Love
I
it.
was thinking about something today. I was listening to that Lou Gavir or whatever. He's been on Rogan. He's got his own. It's no video or whatever, but he's got a podcaster. And the guy he was talking, they were talking about the food industry and
Oh,
like just the nastiness and stuff. And I
oh
was
that's
like,
a rabbit hole.
oh man, big time.
Yeah.
Like it was like it talks about like it's usually these people who've worked for like Coca-Cola who now are like speaking out about all the money they paid people off and
For
stuff,
sure.
and they're just like, I don't know how they have the right to do that. Like there wasn't any sort of non-disclosure, but like they're just like, no, like we actually like paid people to say certain things to make sure that, you know what I mean, like we could sell our stuff and claim different things and tell people that a Diet Coke or a Coke was great for her kids. It wouldn't hurt. You know?
Yeah.
My aunt was in the army, so everyone on my mom's side of the family went into the service, with the exception of my mom. My uncle and my aunt, one of my aunts went into the Coast Guard, and my other aunt went into the Army. When she got out, she became a food inspector for the FDA, and she has some wild stories.
Oh, I can imagine. Was she going into like Tyson chicken factories and stuff like that? Like
I've
the
worked
big
in those
time?
things. I've worked in the one just north of us, just to not get us pinched by some large corporation. But I've done work there, and I'll be looking at a job, and next thing you know, you see a skid steer coming down the road, and it has just a bucket full of skulls. And it's
See,
like,
that stuff might be
and you walk
gruesome and
in,
gross, but
and you go into the production facility, in the bathrooms for all the people that work there, you feel like you're in an elementary school, because they hired nothing but Guatemalans and people from Guatemala are just shorter than us. They're like 5 foot
Hey,
tall.
listen,
max.
my buddy from California is Guatemalan. He's like your size.
Is he? Well, then he's an anomaly.
So
He
is
doesn't.
it- so
he
is
doesn't
his
work
brother.
in a meat
Rare
processing
breed.
plant. Good for him. Guess what? The tall Guatemalans aren't working in meat processing plants.
He's a firefighter.
Good. But it's crazy. I mean, then there's a guy in that place. So the way that they process the animals. Animals come in. There's a guy. Have you guys ever watched professional bull riding?
So,
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
see some of those rodeo clowns that have
Well,
like a
remember
flak jacket on and like
Oh, yeah.
like a hockey helmet on. There's a guy in there, right? And he takes this pneumatic gun that has a bolt in it, and the bolt puts them out, right? Well, sometimes they don't. Sometimes, I mean, you may not hit the right part of the skull of the steer, and it just like goes haywire, and then they start going crazy and they start thrashing around. Now you've got a 1,600-pound animal, and you're like in close proximity to them, and you got to figure out quickly like how
You
you're
better
gonna
reload.
Right. So this whole building is filled with nothing but chaos from start to finish. Like that's how they come in, and then starts the process of like dissecting these animals, and it's nothing but people with sharp knives the entire way through. I mean, you'll be walking through part of this facility, and there'll be like a trough that has like a treatment in it where the hides are coming through, and then these hides are coming up, and these hides are like as big as like your comforter on your bed.
Yeah, for sure.
They're just, and you gotta like duck and look out, and it's all these things boil down to production facilities. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
How much are they? How many?
a lot
How
of
many
mechanical
steers
stuff
are
in there.
running through that facility a day?
You would be astounded if you looked at the metrics at what some of these companies push through yearly and then break it down to daily. You're talking 100,000 chickens get processed a day.
Think about it. Buffalo Wild Wings. Like, how do I order 20 wings and that's just me?
It's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
but when you
yeah.
go to these places and you check in, it is nothing but livestock semi after livestock
think-
semi, just in out.
You think
out,
the
out
chicken
all day
wings
long.
used to be the size of an M43 beer back in the day?
No.
no.
I'm surprised they haven't made them that way now, but I just now put it together that when I eat 20 wings, that's 10 chickens I ate.
Yeah,
I didn't ever
could
do
be.
the math before.
Could be,
Well, it has to be. I mean, unless they discarded one because it was bad.
or maybe it had one wing and they're like, fuck it.
We'll
One-
process this
One's
thing.
better than zero.
So there's obviously that with food, but like this guy was going to say like there's
The additives and all
Well,
that stuff.
not additives. He was just saying like there's all of that. We know all of that stuff goes
Mm-hmm.
on, the GMO and all those injections, hormones, all this stuff. But what he was saying was like even just blatant, like they would compare like, so like they say sugary cereal bad, but like instead of having the sugary cereal, like Cheerios good. And like Cheerios still has a bunch of issues because of the GMO and all the other stuff, right? And not probably good, good form of, carbs or whatever either because it's super processed.
Sure.
But it's like on the same playing field, equal health value in terms of like what like these industry professionals would say as to an egg, like an organic egg, right? Like they've demonized an egg. Eat Cheerios for breakfast
So
instead.
people can eat cereal.
And they're just like, whoa, like that's crazy because there's like very little wrong with an egg.
I always think of how
Yeah.
much flavor we've foregone. You know what I mean? I mean, when you eat wild game, there's all kind of, like the flavors they're
Yeah.
very rich and they're very different. But when you get into animals that are farmed nothing but for meat, I mean, you're starting to tame down. I mean, you're nerfing all the edges, and you've lost that wild flavor of, yeah. If you caught one, you got a chicken, or you knew somebody raising chickens 500 years ago, it might taste vastly different. And yeah, they probably were small, and they weren't as big,
Sure.
or but now we're just so because look, everyone wants consistency. Like if you bought, let's say you bought a 6-pack of Coke, that thing's gonna taste the same every time,
Better.
right? Because
Yeah.
that's what the whole brand is built off of, is this consistent flavor. Correct. Beer, like if you, I can tell you, yeah, I grab one of these and it doesn't taste the same. I'm like,
Yeah.
right. So you might have these anomalies of, oh, this is a chicken from the Northeast, or this is a chicken from the Southeast. They just have different feeds that they're eating, different bugs that they eat, just roaming around. Well, now that doesn't, no, because if you had some chicken breast, you're like, man, this tastes gamey, or this tastes different. This doesn't taste like the universal meat flavor that is chicken.
Right.
Now we gotta like find all these seasonings, just season the crap out of it, and then hope you don't overcook it. 'Cause
Right.
then it's like dry and sucks too. But
Sure.
like these guys, like on that podcast, they get into like they even talk about in like the medical industry a little bit, and I'm only like maybe like 30 minutes into this thing, but like he's just saying it's like it was hilarious. I actually laughed. He's like, most people die around the age of 25, and I was like, what's he talking about? Or he
Yeah.
goes, you just don't get buried until you're 70. Says we've done so much damage or whatever in terms
Sure.
of like what we've consumed and eaten or whatever that
Yeah.
like you know
Gotcha.
he's like at 25 you start getting all the problems, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get the
Shameless
joint
plug.
pain, you get the
Yeah.
you know, and I was just like, that was pretty funny when he said it like
It's
that.
interesting. Yeah.
But this other guy like on Impact Theory today when I was on the treadmill, he also got into the same thing, and I'm
Yes,
like,
sir.
he was talking about how you can compare ourselves and our environment is what he was saying is like we all have this macro environment. Earth is where we are and that's where we'll be, right? So we can't avoid that. But there's micro environments, right? So like where you work, you know,
Yeah.
where you breathe the air and all that stuff. So like if the cleaners are cleaning at your place of work, like or you're touching the chemical, like there's all sorts of environmental factors. And then he goes on to say, he's like, just think about it this way. Like think about a fish bowl. And he's like, you get this fish brand new, but the water in it's toxic. He's like, our system in America now, like a logical person would say, let's remove the fish from this environment and move it to a clean one. And he goes, our system is set up to leave the fish there and treat it.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
we all would keep going to the same jobs and like
Yeah,
not
like-
put our finger on why we're having this eczema and all this issues or things that we're having.
Sure.
Right? He goes on to say that like they found out through some clinic or whatever that like a guy was having crazy problems. I forget what he said the issues were that the guy was having. And what they found out was that he was golfing too much. And that was what was causing all his problems. And the guy, the host or whatever, was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean he was golfing too much? He's like, his body doesn't build this certain like detoxifying agent or whatever. It's not like in his DNA code to process this type of thing. The chemicals that are used at the golf course in the grass for fertilizer were affecting him. If he would golf once a week, but he was golfing 4 times a week, his exposure to those
Oh my
chemicals
gosh.
was jacking him up. And you think like,
Isn't that wild?
I'm retired, I'm a healthy guy, like I eat all the right things, and yet,
this is what I retired for. So I can
Exactly.
golf 4
And-
times a week.
I'm sorry, you gotta go.
but
That's it. No, not that. But I'm talking about people who have problems with golf courses. Get them out of here.
no,
Their time has come.
I'm like, I know I got to go like in a second though. I was like, but he also then said though, here's the issue. It wasn't even just about the golf. It was that he was golfing in Canada. Because
Natural
Canada,
selection.
but Canada's season, right? And what they have to do for their golf courses to keep them looking good because they don't have as long of a time for them to get good.
Right.
If they were using something that was bothersome.
Yeah,
if
they're
he
golfing on permafrost.
if he moved to Florida, they don't use the same stuff. But that's interesting.
Jeez.
He just needed to move to Florida and get out of Canada to golf.
And it would have been fine.
Yeah, because they don't use the same. They don't use that thing
That's
that he was having a problem with in Florida. They were Arizona. They don't need it.
Different type of grass. Wow.
Yeah. Somebody, like, if I retire and my doctor's like, man, you know, your health would be so much better if you stopped golfing so much, I'd slap him across his face and be like, yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
no.
Your life would be better if you stopped telling me
Yeah,
that.
your life is going to be exponentially longer if you stop talking right now. Because otherwise,
That's
I'm about
right.
to end
Well,
it.
hey, got a dip.
All right.
All right.
Movie time.
Let's do it again in about 3 days.
Yeah, I think we should. I'm in for that.
Okay.
If I hope that works out. 'Cause
Yeah,
I think it'd be fun to.
I'm
grab
down.
some-
I'm
grab
gonna-
some food and then,
I'm gonna have to. I'll convince, the wife, and we'll make it happen. Because
Oh, man.
the only real thing is Maddie missing out on Ant-Man. Well, we can take her to it Sunday.
Cool.
You know what I mean? So
Well, don't go ripping off like 5 hours or
All right,
whatever.
brother.
And
Love
get
you.
out of me anything too,
Yeah,
you know,
don't-
man.
you're not driving to Iowa tonight, so that's good.
Call us when you get done with the movie. We might still be here.
No, no.
Is Brady out there?
Yeah, he's eating pizza.
Okay. All right. Should we take a second? Should we hit pause? Take a second. I wouldn't mind, giving Mr. Pass's driving test a little
Absolutely.
love, if that's all
Absolutely.
right.
I'm almost thinking we should bring him in here.
Okay. I'll see if he